There is a moment in every person's life when they quietly wonder whether the world is trying to tell them something. A faint tug in the heart, a whisper that refuses to fade, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, life is bigger than the routines that surround them. Most people silence this feeling. They bury it under responsibility, fear, and practicality. But some hear it clearly. Some awaken to the possibility that their life has a purpose that doesn't fit inside the walls they've built around it. The great lesson behind The Alchemist begins with this whisper. It isn't a map or an instruction. It's an invitation. An invitation to remember that every human being is born with something unique inside them. A calling, a direction, a path that leads toward the fullest expression of who they are. The book calls it a personal legend. You can call it destiny, purpose, mission, dream. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that it exists. And it speaks. And its voice grows louder the more you try to ignore it. Some people never begin their journey because they wait for permission. They wait for clarity, for approval, for certainty. But purpose rarely arrives with certainty. It arrives as curiosity, a desire that keeps returning, a dream that refuses to die. This is the first and most powerful lesson. The journey begins the moment you stop dismissing what your heart is trying to say. There is something beautiful about taking your dreams seriously. It forces the world around you to shift. You don't need to understand the whole path, only the first step. You don't need to see the destination, only the direction. A person who listens to their inner calling becomes magnetic, not because they know everything, but because they dare to move while others stand still. And then comes the next lesson. The universe responds to courage. Life has a strange way of rearranging itself when you commit to a dream. Opportunities appear. People arrive. Signs emerge. Doors open that you never knew existed. But there is a deeper truth behind this. The universe is not rewarding you for dreaming. It is responding to your willingness to begin. Every dreamer encounters a moment of risk, the moment when the old life must be traded for the possibility of a new one. This trade is uncomfortable because the mind loves familiarity. But comfort is the currency you pay for possibility. And possibility is the currency you pay for transformation. Yet the path to personal destiny is never smooth at first. This is another lesson people often misunderstand. Life will test your commitment before it rewards your persistence. The early obstacles are not punishments. They are filters. They separate those who want the idea of a dream from those who want the reality of it. Every dreamer encounters harsh beginnings, the loss of something familiar, the sting of betrayal, the discomfort of uncertainty. But these early struggles aren't signs to turn back. They are signs that you have started. The deeper lesson is that your journey will demand more from you than your old life ever did. You cannot become who you are destined to be while clinging to who you used to be. Life demands growth. Growth demands discomfort. And discomfort demands faith. Not blind faith in fate or miracles, but faith in your ability to adapt, to rebuild, to rise again. One of the most profound teachings hidden in the book is the value of starting small. When life strips you of your comfort and familiar identity, it doesn't do it to destroy you. It does it to rebuild you. But the rebuilding often starts at the bottom, with humble tasks, with simple beginnings, with roles that feel smaller than your potential. This is not a step backward. It is preparation. Sometimes destiny hides inside ordinary experiences. You learn discipline in places where you feel limited. You learn patience in places where you feel stuck. You learn creativity in places where you feel constrained. What looks like a detour often becomes the foundation. What looks like a delay often becomes the lesson you needed to move forward. And while you learn these lessons, you discover something unexpected. The world is constantly communicating with you, not through loud messages or dramatic signs, but through subtle patterns. A conversation overheard at the right moment, a sudden opportunity, a recurring symbol, a strange coincidence. The book calls these omens, but you can call them intuitions, clues, or signals. When your mind is focused and your heart is open, you begin to recognize them. Life starts to feel like a language. And everything inside it becomes meaningful. But to read this language, you must learn stillness. You must quiet the noise of doubt, fear, and comparison. When you stop rushing, you begin noticing. When you stop forcing, you begin receiving. Clarity does not arrive in chaos. It arrives in attention. Another lesson emerges. Not everyone will understand your dream. Some will doubt it because they have doubted their own. Some will discourage you because your courage reminds them of their fear. Some will simply be unable to imagine the future you see. This is normal. Your destiny is yours alone. It was not assigned to them, and so it will not make sense to them. But while some may doubt you, others will appear along your journey who guide you, teach you, challenge you. Not all mentors are traditional teachers. Some are experiences. Some are failures. Some are unexpected encounters. But each one plays a role in your evolution. You realize that you are never walking alone. You are always being shaped. And then, in the middle of your journey, something surprising happens. You discover love, admiration, or something precious enough to make you pause. Something that tempts you to stay where you are instead of continuing toward who you could become. This is a universal moment. Many people stop here. They trade their destiny for temporary comfort. But a deeper truth emerges. Real love does not imprison purpose. Real love supports it. Real love expands you instead of shrinking you. Anything that asks you to abandon your inner calling is not love. It is attachment. Your dream, your purpose, your personal legend is not separate from the people you love. It is the version of you that they deserve. The strongest relationships are built not on sacrifice of identity, but on the expansion of it. As you travel further on your path, you begin confronting your inner barriers: fear, doubt, comparison, the belief that you are not ready, the belief that you are not enough. These mental enemies appear precisely when you are closest to transformation. The journey outward becomes a journey inward. You discover that the real battle is not with the world but with yourself. Your fears are illusions that magnify your limits. Once you learn to question them, they begin to dissolve. Then comes the most dangerous moment, the test that feels impossible. Every person pursuing something meaningful experiences a moment when everything collapses. Plans fail. Support disappears. The path darkens. You start to believe that you have made a mistake. But this is the moment when destiny checks your sincerity, when life strips you of every excuse and demands a single answer. Do you still want this? This moment is not meant to break you. It is meant to awaken you. It forces you to dig deeper into your own strength, your own intuition, your own connection with life. It is the moment when you stop relying on external signs and begin trusting the voice inside you. In these moments, you begin to realize something powerful. You are more connected to the world than you ever imagined, not in a mystical sense, but in a deeply human sense. Your thoughts influence your actions. Your actions influence your environment. Your environment influences your opportunities. When your inner world aligns with your outer pursuit, things begin to shift. This alignment creates flow. You stop pushing and start receiving. You stop fearing and start understanding. You stop controlling and start collaborating with life itself. The journey becomes less about reaching the treasure and more about becoming the kind of person capable of receiving it. And yet, the journey is not finished. The biggest realization is still ahead, hidden in the final stretch. It is the understanding that everything you seek is connected to something deeper within you. That the treasure is not just a reward but a mirror that reflects who you have become along the way. There comes a moment near the end of every meaningful journey when the world becomes strangely quiet, not because challenges disappear, but because you finally understand why they existed in the first place. You begin to realize that every delay had a direction, every setback had a purpose, every moment of confusion carried a message. It is in this silence that the greatest lesson reveals itself. The treasure you seek is not separate from you. It grows within you as you move toward it. Most people believe destiny is something waiting in the distance, like a prize handed to those who survive the journey. But the deeper truth is more profound. Destiny is not only found at the destination. It is shaped by every decision, every sacrifice, every risk, every fear you refuse to obey. The treasure at the end of the path becomes valuable only because of the person you become while walking it. This is the heart of the book's wisdom. The journey is the alchemy. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It transforms doubt into strength, confusion into clarity, fear into faith. The world outside you changes only after the world inside you evolves. This is why shortcuts never work. They may bring you the object of desire, but they cannot bring you the evolution required to hold it. The most surprising realization is that the universe does not hide your treasure from you. It hides it for you. Hidden behind growth you haven't yet achieved. Hidden behind lessons you haven't yet mastered. Hidden behind the version of yourself you haven't yet stepped into. Destiny is never denied, only delayed until you become equal to it. This understanding reshapes everything. You stop feeling unlucky when life tests you. You stop feeling discouraged when the path becomes difficult. You recognize that each challenge is asking you to upgrade, to think bigger, to trust deeper, to see beyond where you currently stand. And when you rise to meet these challenges, the universe responds, not with miracles, but with momentum, not with magic, but with alignment. There is a lesson here about fear, one that most people never learn. Fear doesn't appear to stop you from moving forward. It appears to confirm that you're moving in the right direction. Fear is not the enemy of destiny. Fear is the compass. When something scares you and excites you at the same time, it's often the indication that you've found your path. The problem is that most people choose comfort over calling. They choose the familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. But comfort never leads to transformation. And transformation is the price of treasure. As you walk your path, you begin to notice another truth. The world outside you reflects the world inside you. When you focus on scarcity, you experience scarcity. When you focus on possibility, you begin noticing opportunities that were invisible before. This shift is not magical, it is psychological. You become aware of what you believe you deserve, and what you believe you deserve determines what you pursue, what you accept, and what you reject. There is a moment in every dreamer's journey when they confront the difference between wanting something and being willing to live for it. This distinction changes everything. Wanting is passive. It waits, hopes, fantasizes. Willingness is active. It commits, sacrifices, acts. When your willingness surpasses your wanting, the dream stops being a wish and becomes a direction. But the most powerful challenge comes near the end of the journey, the moment when everything seems lost. The moment when the dream feels too distant, too painful, too heavy. When you have given everything and received nothing. When you question why you ever believed in this path. This is not the universe rejecting you. It is the universe refining you. It is the final test, the one that asks whether your commitment is stronger than your emotion, whether your faith can stand without proof. People misinterpret this moment as failure, but it is the birthplace of transformation. When you continue moving forward, even when every part of you wants to turn back, you unlock a level of strength that cannot be taught, only experienced. You realize that destiny belongs to those who refuse to quit. And then, something extraordinary happens. You begin to understand the hidden structure behind every challenge you faced. You begin to see that nothing was random. The disappointments that slowed you down, the people who entered your life and left, the detours disguised as delays, all of it was preparing you. Teaching you, positioning you, shaping you into someone who can handle what you once only dreamed about. This understanding leads to another revelation. The treasure you seek never exists in just one form. Yes, there are external goals, success, love, freedom, purpose. But the deeper treasure is internal. It is the self-awareness you gain, the confidence you build, the inner peace you develop, the courage you cultivate. These inner treasures do not vanish when circumstances change. They become the foundation for everything you achieve afterward. And then comes the lesson that surprises almost everyone. Sometimes, you travel the world searching for answers, only to discover that the answer was within you all along. This realization is not disappointment, it is liberation. It teaches you that you don't need to chase purpose across continents. Purpose grows wherever you choose to plant courage. It reminds you that destiny is not a location, it is a transformation. But the journey does not end with realization. It ends with integration. You must take everything you've learned, the courage, the clarity, the intuition, and bring it back into your life. That is where the final act begins, the return. The moment when you look at your familiar world with unfamiliar eyes. The moment when the old life feels too small for the person you've become. The moment when you recognize that the true treasure is not the reward, but the awakened version of yourself. This awakening brings a different kind of strength, a quiet confidence, a willingness to trust your heart even when logic disagrees, a deeper connection with the world around you. You start seeing signs more clearly. You notice opportunities more quickly. You understand yourself more deeply. And from this understanding flows a sense of peace that no external achievement can match. This peace leads to the final lesson. When you live in alignment with your purpose, the world aligns with you. You no longer chase. You attract. You no longer fear. You understand. You no longer doubt. You act. Your life becomes a conversation between your heart and the universe. And every day feels like a step towards something meaningful. But the book's wisdom goes even deeper. It challenges you to ask yourself a question far more important than, what is my dream? The real question is, am I willing to become the person my dream requires? Dreams are not destinations. They are invitations to evolve. Goals are not achievements. They are catalysts for self-discovery. Every desire you feel is a signal that a stronger version of you is waiting to emerge. This brings us to the final and most practical part. How do you live these lessons every day? The answer is not complicated. It begins with listening. Listening to your curiosity. Listening to your intuition. Listening to the moments when your heart pulls you in a direction your mind cannot explain. It continues with small, deliberate action. You don't need to quit everything and chase a treasure across the world. You only need to take one step, and then another, and then another. Consistency builds clarity. Movement builds momentum. Each day, ask yourself a simple question. What is one small action that moves me closer to the life I envision? Write it. Speak it. Act on it. Momentum grows from repetition. And as momentum grows, fear shrinks. Practice awareness. Notice the subtle signs around you. Pay attention to coincidences. Pay attention to conversations that feel significant. Pay attention to ideas that won't leave your mind. The language of life is everywhere, but only those who pay attention can understand it. Protect your energy. Surround yourself with people who support your evolution rather than fear it. Distance yourself from those who diminish your dreams. Choose environments that strengthen your inner compass rather than cause it to flicker. And finally, practice courage. Not dramatic courage, not reckless courage, but daily courage. The courage to be honest with yourself. The courage to admit what you want. The courage to pursue it even when no one understands. The courage to trust that your journey has meaning even when the path is unclear. This is the real alchemy, the transformation of fear into freedom. The transformation of doubt into direction. The transformation of ordinary moments into defining chapters of your life. When you live this way, you no longer wait for destiny. You participate in it. And in the end, you experience the most powerful truth the story teaches. When you follow your heart, you do not just find your treasure. You find yourself. And when you find yourself, the world unlocks in ways you could never imagine. Your life stops being a search and becomes a creation. You stop being a wanderer and become a seeker. You stop asking for signs and start becoming one. Purpose becomes your compass. Courage becomes your language. And the universe becomes your silent partner. This is the journey the Alchemist invites you onto. Not a journey across deserts or ancient lands, but a journey into your own potential. A reminder that the treasure you seek is real. The path you desire is valid. The signs you notice are not accidents. And the destiny you imagine is waiting for your participation. Your story begins the moment you say yes.